Hey everyone, what's it, Fox Gaming here. Welcome to my first build video of TU10. Now I wanted to get this video out within the first few hours of me getting online yesterday when TU10 launched. For us in the UK it was I think like 11 AM or something, and I was literally on by about midday, already theory crafting. So I wanted to take into account two things with TU10 that I read from the patch notes. The increase to TTK, so basically it just takes longer to kill stuff in PvP, and the weapon handling buff. And I've incorporated both of those things into this build. I've experimented a lot over the last 24 hours, and this build I don't want to sort of blow my own horn here, but I do feel that I'm really sort of encroaching on meta territory here. I do genuinely believe that three-piece striker is top tier, and the exact combination of weapons and talents and perks that I have here make this build fantastic. I haven't yet found anything better with it. I'm quite proud of it, so I'm going to go through why I think this build is really top of the hill at the moment. And I guess we'll just have to wait as the days and weeks go on, what true meta really comes out. I'm hoping though that I'm on the right lines. By all means though, this build is really easy to put together, so get it on. Let me know what you think in the comments. Try it in the dark zone, try it in conflict. I'm really curious to know your thoughts. As always, a like and a subscribe do go a long way for me as well, so if you do genuinely like the content and you want to see more, I do mostly PvP videos, but I do occasionally do PvE ones. I did run a legendary last night with a chameleon and some walker, Providence, a bit of a traditional build, but a few extras added in there, and I hit 2 billion damage. So chameleon is here with a bang. I'm probably going to release that video in the near future as well, and might show off some legendary content. But anyway, back to the build. So three-piece striker. Now this has always been good since it was launched in was it TU8 striker came back, because it gave a rate of fire buff. Weapon handling was kind of neither here nor there. If you haven't read the patch notes in as much detail as I have, or you just don't know anything about weapon handling, I will explain why it is absolutely, I will say, crucial to have in every single build that you have. Maybe just sort of one piece of up to sort of 5 or 10%. So weapon handling now buffs all four of the weapon values, I guess you could call them, the weapon stats. So that is accuracy, stability, swap speed, and reload speed. Now it used to be that it only buffed, I don't know if it was all of them, but it only used to buff basically 0.25% of those stats for every 1% of handling. So if you had 10% weapon handling, you'd be getting 2.5% swap speed and accuracy and stability. Now it's 1 for 1, so 10% of weapon handling is 10% reload, stability, all of the good stuff. It's fantastic. It's too good not to use. Rate of fire is fantastic as well, because it is just a raw DPS increase. I must have tested well over a dozen different weapons here. In fact, no, it must be more like 20 or 30, because I was going through SMGs, ARs, shotguns. I did loads of testing. Most people will tell you to use a high rate of fire weapon with strikers, and that makes a lot of sense, right? You've got a FAMAS or a Vector in your hand, 900 rounds per minute, 1200 rounds per minute. You want to get out all of that same damage in a smaller window, because that's more DPS, right? And that makes a lot of sense. I tried that, it works pretty well. The downside to that is it's not very forgiving. If you've got a 1200 RPM Vector and you're buffing that to, what would that go to, nearly 1400 I guess, you're going to get all of your bullets out so quickly that if your enemy moves even a little bit, more of your bullets will miss, because they're leaving your gun faster, for lack of a better way to describe that. And a gun that sort of, gets rid of all of its bullets within sort of a second, if somebody's chicken dancing and you're firing for a second, less of your bullets will hit. So what I decided to look at was the lower rate of fire weapons, and I considered the slower firing shotguns. I initially played with the FAL SA58 because it's still my favourite AR in the game, and it's still really good, by the way. But what I did is I settled on the Eagle Bearer for two reasons. One, it's a 750 RPM, so it's kind of right in the middle. It's not so slow rate of fire that you want to try and get up as much damage as possible, but in a way that you're not going to miss half of your shots. So this is kind of the middle ground there. The other reason is that it has a very large mag. It's the biggest mag of any AR in the game, 60 or 61 technically in the mag. So even if you are missing a few shots, you don't need to reload quite as frequently as, say, my carbine as an example, or my FAL or my FAMAS. I suppose there is a third reason, and that's that the Eagle Bearer did get a nice damage buff, and the perks on it are really good. The accuracy increase does stack quite nicely with the weapon handling that we've got on this build. So use the Eagle Bearer, you won't regret it. It's really nice after TU10. The custom M870 and the other variant, I think it's called the Classic or something, I forget, but they are basically the same, just this one looks cooler, has had something like a 23% damage buff. I was using this in the Dark Zone yesterday, and it just drops bosses within the 5-bullet mag. Like, I'm not even kidding, you could have, unless it's a Chunga that's damage to health, if it's an armor-based boss, you will literally kill it within your 5 bullets. It's insane. So this shotgun is lethal. They gave it a big damage buff because it is quite unforgiving. It has a bit of a hefty reload time, and it's only got 5 in the mag, so you can't really afford to miss that much. However, we're using weapon handling, which negates a lot of that extra, or a lot of the negatives of this weapon. The other part of this build that I feel is really good, it's very synergistic, if that's even a word, is Gunner. Gunner adds weapon handling as well, 10% to be precise, when you're not moving for a second. So if you've taken some damage and you get into cover and you pop a med kit, by the time you pop that med kit you can very quickly swap to your shotgun if someone's about to push you, because it will buff it to 25% swap speed. Or you can reload your shells if that's what you need to do. It doesn't make a difference. You know, that being motionless for that second will give you the extra handling buff. In the Dark Zone, you should always have one person on Gunner if you're planning on going on long sprees because you get the big ammo regen. You get the rate of fire increase as well. This is fantastic. You've already got 15% base rate of fire increase. It's now going up to 20 after a kill, so you can chain your second kill really nicely. And of course you can swap to your other weapon, and it does continue, by the way. The medkit, or the armor kit, sorry, is really good as well because it gives you the extra bonus armor. And you get the third reload being faster as well. And you can force this. It doesn't have to be when you empty a mag. It's not like overflow. You could pop 1 bullet, reload, pop 1 bullet, reload, and then run into the engagement, so that if you have to reload in that engagement, it's going to be a super fast one. And of course, this is more for the Dark Zone. This is kind of pointless in conflict, but the 10% armor on kill is actually quite nice in the Dark Zone. There's a bunch of ads nearby. You can just kill them and top your armor off without potentially wasting a medkit. So Gunner is fantastic at the moment. It works really well with all that extra weapon handling. I tried 4-piece striker, didn't like it. In PvE, it's very good, by the way. So I'm going to release a couple of build videos for PvE with 4-piece striker because it is actually really good at the moment. But in PvP, I'm sorry to say it's not. I tested it. It's just not worth losing one of the 3 pieces that I've got here. So 3-piece, of course, just gives you the rate of fire and the weapon handling, and I'm losing out on the extra weapon damage. But that's fine because I'm making up for it by having a couple of things, actually. A Fenris piece, a Badger Tough piece, obviously for the 2 weapons, and Versatile. Now, I believe Versatile got nerfed from 35% down to 25%, but they appear not to have updated the text. It's still best in slot, in my opinion. There are some really nice new talents in the game that I've been testing, and they work well. But, you know, the whole point of Versatile is to swap your weapons and fire quickly, and weapon handling now buffs all of that. So Versatile, in my opinion, you know, this might generate a little bit of a... You know, some people might not think this is true, but in my opinion, Versatile is now stronger than it has ever been. It has been indirectly buffed by weapon handling to the point where it's now better than it was when it was 35%. And I know that sounds crazy, it's 10% less damage, but just trust me on this, it really works. You know, think about it this way. You've got your Eagle Bearer in your hand, you swap to your shotgun, 25% extra damage. Yeah, it's 10% less, but you're firing your shotgun 15% faster. You're swapping to it 15% faster, so you're just getting the extra damage off quicker. And you know, when you're swapping, usually that's quite a long window, and the other person might get some damage on you in that time. So yeah, just trust me, Versatile combined with high weapon handling is phenomenal. I opted for Unbreakable still. I've tried out a few talents here. You know, the TTK increase in TU10 is really nice. If you don't know, it takes longer. Everything does a bit less damage, so it takes longer to kill anything. Unbreakable just helps out with that. I still haven't found a better talent to put here, to be fair. I still think it's best in slot, even though it doesn't stack with incoming repairs. You know, I've gone for the Seska piece here as well, just for the extra critical hit chance, but that's neither here nor there. You can run whatever piece you want. Actually, Providence is quite nice because it's now 15% headshot damage, which does stack quite nicely with the Eagle Bearer. But yeah, you know, that's up to you what you put in here. Skills I use, you know, doesn't really make a difference here. I've always stuck with the shield and the... oh, that's the wrong pulse. I forget they've changed the order now, haven't they? The jammer pulse, because I think they're really good, but it doesn't make a difference. If you're in the Dark Zone, just use decoy. So what we'll do then is we'll load into a conflict game, because I really want to demonstrate why I think this build is basically top tier. Now, as always, any likes and subscribes do go a long way for me, so if you do like the content, if you like the build, you know, please drop that like and a subscribe if you want to see more videos. I predominantly do PvP builds, but I'm doing a few more PvE ones. Yesterday I ran a legendary with my clan. I put together a build that was mostly Providence with some Walker and Harris and Fenris. And I was using, I think, Obliterate and Perfect Vigilance. With Chameleon, I hit 2 billion damage in a legendary DUA. So Chameleon is here with a bang. It's a great build. I'm really happy with it. I've been able to get some good walker pieces already. I will be uploading that in the next few days just to show it off. I tried it with Bighorn, also works really well, but it's a bit more situational. So, you know, I even ran it with just a standard Honey Badger that I've got a really well rolled one with damage to armour and Optimist, and that still hits like 1.8 billion on our second run. So ARs are really strong at the moment. They work really well. Just make sure you get one with damage to armour, because then you've got the damage to health and damage to armour. But yeah, that's neither here nor there. Well, matchmaking's taking its time today. Actually, in this little window I will quickly demonstrate the rate of fire and all of the handling increases. So everybody knows the Eagle Bearer. It's a relatively well used weapon. You know, you don't need to use it. If you want to use a different weapon, by all means, I always recommend the FAL and the Carbine. I think they're really strong, and even after this update they're really good. But of course the FAMAS is probably still king. Use what you want at the end of the day. Just try not to use a weapon that's too high rate of fire. So if I wasn't using this, I'd probably be on my Carbine. I might re-roll that to Optimist, but Preservation is actually quite good at the moment, because with the extra rate of fire you're getting that extra DPS anyway, so you can almost afford to lose a DPS talent on your AR. And Preservation just means you get the health back. Also works really well in the Dark Zone, and of course it does stack with the armour on kill from Gunner, so there's a bit of synergy there as well. But if you haven't got an Eagle Bearer, try and pick a 750 or lower RPM weapon. Unless you're a really good aim and your positioning and everything is really good. You know, if you're a top tier player, to be fair, you probably wouldn't be watching this video if you were, but if you are a very good player with very precise aim, then by all means go for FAMAS. I'm a bit of an average Joe, you know, my stats aren't amazing. So for me, I found that the Eagle Bearer was the most forgiving. But let's have a look at the accuracy. So stability is kind of its recall pattern. But it also limits how much bloom you have on a weapon. So the little dot right in the centre of my crosshair there, that obviously gets wider and wider out. Accuracy is the total width that can get to. So it's a bit confusing. I originally thought that accuracy was how much your bloom spreads, how quickly your bloom comes out. That's actually not true. After a lot of testing, it turns out that only stability affects that. Accuracy simply affects the maximum size that the bloom can hit. And by bloom, I simply mean how far from the centre of your screen your bullets start hitting after prolonged firing. So if you watch that little dot in the middle, I'll just fire a mag up into this wall. Now that was with no directional input. I was simply holding in left trigger there to aim down sights and right trigger to fire. So you saw that the bloom was incredibly minimal, and with just a little bit of right analog stick adjustment or mouse adjustment, you could keep that perfectly on someone's head. And because the bloom is so tight, what it essentially does is give it unintended range. You know, usually with the bloom being so big on a lot of ARs, particularly something like the FAMAS, when you're at range you just end up missing loads of bullets. So weapon handling also gives it an unintended range buff, because it's simply more precise, and therefore if somebody's further away, so a smaller target on your screen, more of your bullets are going to hit. But my favourite thing about this is how fast I can swap. So if I swap to my shotgun, I'm going to keep aiming down sights and go straight into firing. Now that felt like switching to a sidearm. It's so quick to switch, and that rate of fire increase as well is beautiful on the M870. So yeah, there's so many reasons to run weapon handling at the moment, and honestly you definitely want to have at least one of your gear pieces, if you're not running striker or gunner, with weapon handling on. You'll really notice it, and this is true for PvE as well. If you've got your watch maxed out, so you don't need critical hit chance on every piece, just run one of them as 10% weapon handling and try using something like a Bighorn. You will notice the difference, hands down, the reload and everything. Right, well that's enough talking. Let's go and melt some faces off. What I didn't actually mention, I've just realised, is, and some of you may have already noticed, I actually decided to opt for 3 armour, 3 weapon damage here, so a 3-3 combo. Again, after much testing, I felt that with the TTK increase, I could actually take reduced armour to buff my weapon damage to balance it out, and I'm happy with that. You know, I might still run 4-2, so four blue and 2 reds, but I certainly won't be running 5 or 6 like I used to. You know, that's dead to me now, and I just feel like it's too tanky and not enough damage. With the increased TTK, your weapons are hitting for less. It's just not viable. 3-3 for me is perfect if you run it with a shield. If you don't, I'd probably still run 4 blue. Oh wow, these load times, huh? I swear every game I've loaded into over the last 24 hours has been an instant load in, and then the moment that I decide to do a live stream, everything takes 10 times as long.
Defeat the enemy before your reinforcements are spent.
There is actually one other reason that I like Gunner, and it's a bit of a little known reason, but its pistol is really good. It's very accurate, it has very low recoil, and it comes with perfect preservation. So I actually got a couple of kills in conflict yesterday just using the pistol, but it's really good in the dark zone because it's very easy to land a headshot with, and if you land a headshot with that pistol you get 24% of your armor back, which is huge. A quarter of your armor for getting 1 kill.
Detected.
Oh, I'm not in cover properly. Ooh. Oh, that rate of fire, man. You gotta love it. You've gotta love it. Where is everyone?
Agent down.
Headshot kill as well. Oh, it's that reload. It's insane. It's so good. I'm absolutely obsessed with weapon handling now. Obsessed with it. Where are my teammates? I'm not the only person here. Watch that reload again. Boom.
Serious trauma detected.
Okay, so for some reason I have none of my teammates with me throughout that entire engagement. I have no idea why. They're all just chilling in the back. They weren't engaged because none of them took any damage there, so that was kind of strange, but never mind. Never mind. That's the beauty of this game. You never know what you're going to get. You might have a passive team, an aggressive team, a super awesome team, a terrible team.
Boost.
That's half the fun.
Immediate medical assistance needed.
So 3 people here. So where are my team again? I'm so confused. Are they just running away from the fight?
Agent vital signs 0. Agent
I'm very confused. This guy's not even playing. Ah, no. Never mind. I'll still wanna. It still gives me an opportunity to demonstrate the build, I guess.
Defender drone detected.
Ooh, unlucky bro.
Immediate medical assistance needed. Agent down.
Come on, guys, give me a hand here. Oh dear, I really should start doing these videos with my clan, to be fair. I'm just having everyone sit back and not engaging.
An agent needs assistance.
Boom. Big old dirty shotgun. So yeah, get an M870 if you haven't got one. Farm shotguns, they are awesome. I've completely gone off of the lower rate of fire shotguns now, but that's only because I'm running obviously a striker build with the increased rate of fire. It definitely
Rogue
works better on the
Stinger
lower
hive
rate of fire
detected.
weapons, regardless of the archetype. Oh, just missed it. Nice. Oh, my axe is awful.
The specialization supply drop has been arranged for you.
Some good head glitching there actually. He was changing his...
Agent down.
You don't have many reinforcements left.
No.
Immediate
Ah,
medical
too many
assistance
people.
needed. Agent down.
How are we losing this
Agent
game?
killed. An agent needs assistance.
Oh, I miss my boys having my
Rogue
back.
defender drone detected.
To be fair, I've never enjoyed conflict solo queue. It's so hard without having comms, and nobody ever uses their mic on the
Agent
console.
down.
As soon as I can get a good PC, I will be migrating.
The specialization supply drop has
I'm
been taken by
hoping,
the enemy.
in fact this may already exist and I just don't know about it, but I'm hoping they do what Bungie did with Destiny and allow you to cross-save. Not cross-play, but just migrate my save to PC.
Vital signs critical.
Why did I take my shield off there? And why are my teammates shooting this guy? He had no health. Oh
Agent
my
killed.
goodness. Ah, now I'm out of the game. Ah. Never
An
mind.
agent needs assistance.
Never mind.
The fight is halfway done.
Okay, let's have a look at some stats then. So, for the most part, although admittedly I have been playing in my clan, I've been having some really good games with this build. But like I say, solo queue, especially when you do what I do, which is basically a Twitch stream with live commentary, and I simply upload that unedited to, to the YouTube video. So there's no kind of montage of all the best bits. It's just raw footage of the good and bad parts of the build. It definitely makes it harder to play with live commentary, that's for sure. And the fact that you're not in comms with your team. I really thought we had those guys. I really thought we were going to beat them from that start, but never mind. You can't win them all. Oh goodness, yeah, I definitely. My teammates were definitely struggling there. You look at, but then those damage numbers, 33 million. That's the highest in the lobby. So yeah, I think that demonstrates what this build can do. I didn't really have a chance to perform too well in that last game. And I should apologise for that really, because I always want to try and show off the builds as best as I can. But it's like I just said, it's always good to see the mistakes that I make and the weaknesses of the build and positioning and so on, because I do genuinely believe that people learn so much, myself included, from making mistakes and viewing other people's mistakes, other than just watching a build video with all the best stuff about a build and thinking, oh yeah, if I put that on, I'll do every game 15-0. That's obviously not the case. So, but that's the end of the video anyway. So yeah, let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll keep you updated with some future builds within the next few days. Peace.